Agassiz Village is the most amazing place in the world.
And I made awesome friends from all over the world.
Agassiz taught me to dream big and that I could accomplish anything that I wanted to.
The sense of community I experienced there filled me with joy that's both deep and lasting.
The camp's always had the same essential missions that touch the lives of those kids that otherwise might not have a chance.
I've never left. I feel like I've always been there. It's my second home.
Agassiz Village undoubtedly changed my life.
In 1935, one man's dream of a summer camp that would nourish the bodies and the souls of the poor working children of Boston was realized on the shore of Thompson Lake in Poland, Maine. Here among the towering pines that reminded him of his childhood home, marginalized youth were given the chance to thrive and the dream of a better future. Since then, the camp has been a lifeline for more than 45,000 children. For them, it's been more than fun, adventure, and friendships. It's been shelter, meals, and emotional support. This is the story of Agassiz Village.
Extra! All about the working boys of Boston.
Yes, this is the working boy. Early to rise, late to bed, a boy with his problems, boy with his business, and yet just a boy. Just a boy with the natural desires of all other boys. Yet he must work. Would there be no happy medium, no way to bridge the gap? There didn't seem to be, till a man named Harry Burroughs came along. He also had been a working boy. Now at the height of his law career, he looked back, saw other boys struggling, and Harry Burroughs remembered.
I have often been asked what drove me, what keeps on driving me, to do this work for boys. It is true that I realize the hardships and injustices they suffer, but the main thing is that I was and am that boy. That newsboy, that bootblack, that messenger boy and street peddler, shivering in the cold of winter, sweltering in the heat of summer. That hard-working, ambitious, bewildered boy. I feel as he does, and I am touched and troubled by the same things as he. His problems are mine. I am of his world.
The world to which Harry Burroughs belonged was the working children on the streets of Boston at the turn of the 20th century. Long before labor laws existed, thousands of them toiled throughout the city for as long as 14 hours a day, earning little more than 30 cents for their efforts. They were young, some only 5 years old. They were from the poorest neighborhoods and most marginalized communities. They were orphans struggling to survive. They were immigrants tasked at a tender age with supporting their families. Harry had become a newsboy in 1903, not long after a 2-year odyssey that culminated with his arrival in America. Born in 1890 in a small village called Kashavka, then a part of the Russian Empire, Harry had run away from home at the young age of 10 after the death of his beloved mother. However, after witnessing a violent attack on Jews, he decided to leave Russia for America. In 1903, he landed in Portland, Maine, with only a fine Russian hat, fur coat, and a pair of shoes made by the shoemaker to the Tsar. Unable to find a job, he ended up walking to Boston, where he did find work, selling newspapers on a street corner in Beacon Hill. On the first day on the job, he was harassed by American newsboys who called him a greenhorn and made fun of his clothing. One newsboy attacked him, punching him in the eye.
My initiation into the business was not pleasant. The black eye I got on the first day stayed with me for 3 weeks, and the bewilderment of it lasted much longer.
The life of a newsboy was not easy. In fact, it was dangerous and physically demanding, requiring Harry to withstand rain, bitter cold, and snow. On several occasions, he was found nearly frozen in the street, saved only by the kindness of strangers who nursed him back to health and generously supported him by buying his newspapers. During his 8 years on a street corner near the State House, Harry became the favorite of several leading Boston businessmen and politicians, including then-Governor Curtis Guild and John F. Fitzgerald, the mayor of Boston and grandfather of President John F. Kennedy. He also became a favorite of the newsboys, who elected him to arbitrate disputes regarding their rights to sell newspapers at subway entrances. They then nominated him for a scholarship to Suffolk Law School through a contest conducted by a local Boston newspaper. With their votes and those of his devoted customers, Harry won the contest and went on to earn a law degree and become a very successful attorney in Boston. Even as his success grew, Harry never forgot about his fellow newsboys and the other street traders whose lives were filled with endless work and little joy. He believed that if they were given an opportunity to change the course of their lives as he had been, they too would flourish. And so in 1927, he made good on a vow to give back to his beloved adopted city of Boston and pay back the kindnesses of its citizens by founding the Burroughs Newsboys Foundation.
In 1927, with the aid of friends, he purchased a building in Boston, not too far from stately Beacon Hill, yet bordering on the tenement district, which housed so many of the boys he wanted to help. The boys came at all hours, and the building stayed open late. But this was no ordinary center. Harry knew only too well the hours of the working boy.
I knew what kind of people had influenced me for good, and what kind of surroundings had enriched my existence and kindled my ambitions. I had not forgotten the little kindnesses that had helped me endure the hardships of life on the street. I believed it was possible to give hundreds of boys the assistance from which I had so greatly profited.
The foundation, located in the old Elks building on 10 State Street and affectionately called the Burroughs by the newsboys, was the largest headquarters for newsboys in any U.S. city. It provided cobbler and tailoring services, free medical service, a gymnasium, including a boxing ring, rooms for an orchestra and general music training, rooms for classes in business, communications, the arts, and trades, laboratories for the study of practical sciences, a banquet hall, and an auditorium. The Burroughs was officially dedicated on December 9, 1928. More than 500 people from civic, academic, professional, and charitable organizations attended the ceremonies. Harry also invited the mothers and fathers of the newsboys. The event, covered by every major newspaper in New England, was so large that arrangements were made to broadcast the speeches to the excited crowd outside. At the height of its existence, the Burroughs had more than 5,000 boys enrolled annually. Harry insisted that it be run as a municipal government, with the boys in control of the legislative and executive branches. Council positions were a highly contested affair each year, especially the annual election of the mayor of Newsboyville. This was such a coveted achievement that even Boston newspapers covered the local election results. The legacy of the Burroughs lives on in the success stories of the newsboys whose lives were changed by their experiences at the foundation. Like Harry before them, the chance to uncover hidden talents and learn critical life and leadership skills transformed their worlds and those of their families. Like the newsboy who built a real estate portfolio of commercial properties across Boston, amassing a fortune and then generously giving back to the city he loved. Like the newsboy who learned the meaning of kindness from a stranger's gift and then devoted his life to the service of others, spending 30 years as a Boston police officer. Like the newsboy whose hidden talent for art was discovered, nurtured, and developed, leading to a stint as a combat artist whose work hangs in a presidential library. However, even with the success of his foundation, Harry wanted more for his boys. He had given them the tools to prepare for life beyond selling newspapers, but he also wanted to ensure that he fed their souls.
100 miles north of Boston, in the heart of Maine's vacation land, is the Agassiz Village of the Burroughs Newsboy Foundation, a spot far removed from the noise and heat. It is here that the boys enter upon a 2-week stay designed to aid their health and free their spirits.
We journeyed through the woods, and then suddenly wide spaces opened up, and I knew I had found what I was looking for. I turned to my companion and said, "This is paradise." They were shocked. For them, it was a place of desolation. They saw ruined buildings and the ghosts of more than 300 trees that had been killed by fire. But I saw the place it could become.
Harry's dream for a summer camp for his newsboys materialized after a nearly year-long search for the perfect property. He visited over 200 camps in Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont looking for the perfect place, but none had what he had hoped to find. Then in June 1935, he visited what was then a YMCA camp in Poland, Maine. With the help of benefactor Maximilian Agassiz, Harry purchased the camp, and the Agassiz Village of the Burroughs Newsboys Foundation was born. In July 1935, 60 newsboys arrived at the camp and were thrilled by camp life, including the new merry-go-round bought from the Barnum and Bailey Circus and the discovery that milk came not from a bottle, but from a cow. In those early days, the aims of the village were cooperation, industry, health, and happiness. Each boy contributed to the camp according to his talents and interests. The boys could choose from carpentry, animal husbandry, grounds maintenance, farming, and cooking. The camp boasted a large vegetable garden, animal house, horse riding ring, large stable, and blacksmith shop. From 1939 to 1940, the first major project at Agassiz Village began, the building of the iconic dining hall. It was constructed using 250,000 feet of logs, most of them taken from fallen trees around the campus. The building was topped by an image of a newsboy and a shoeshine boy on the cupola. Harry's love for his adopted country can still be seen today. On each side of the building, there are 48 panes of windows representing the U.S. states at the time, and darker logs represent the stripes of the American flag. In 1953, a major rebuilding program was begun under then camp director Dr. Arthur Miller. Outmoded buildings inherited from that YMCA camp were replaced or remodeled. 4 years later, Dr. Miller welcomed boys with physical disabilities, beginning a decades-long association with agencies supporting those children who had never been able to enjoy the experiences of a summer camp. Girls were first welcomed to Agassiz in 1973, and today make up approximately half of all campers. While changes have occurred to Agassiz over the last 90 years, the mission remains the same, preparing children for life's journey. We provide opportunities for children in underserved communities from Massachusetts to Maine to come to our 330-acre overnight summer camp to discover interests, uncover new skills, make lifetime friendships, and connect with inspiring mentors. Our vision is for children, regardless of economic opportunity, to experience Agassiz's joyful, welcoming, and diverse community that inspires and enables them to create the futures they envision.
In this work, love and understanding of these boys does more towards lifting their spirits. I wish that it were possible to put into words these intangible benefits that the village offers to these boys, and the good that they are deriving from them. If that could be understood properly, you and others who are supporting our work would have much happiness in the knowledge that you are participating in helping them become happier children.
6 weeks after penning those words to the head of a foundation providing funds in support of Agassiz Village, Harry was rushed to Beth Israel Hospital in Boston. The cancer he'd been diagnosed with earlier in the year had progressed. Knowing that his time was short, he summoned his secretary to the hospital. While lying in an oxygen tent, Harry dictated to her a final message to his beloved newsboys.
I want to leave with the thought that it is much easier to get along in the world by following the forces of good rather than the forces of evil. To the thousands of boys who have been at the foundation and the village, I will leave with the hope that you will become part of my work so you can spread it on to others.
Harry Burroughs died on December 18, 1946, at the age of 56. 5 years later, the Burroughs Newsboys Foundation was closed. What remains of Harry's dream to help children unfairly burdened by life circumstances is Agassiz Village. For the last 9 decades, we have continued Harry's work. As we celebrate this milestone anniversary, we send our profound gratitude to all of you, the thousands of donors and volunteers and supporters who have lifted up tens of thousands of children who had few opportunities in life and now have given them the skills they need to walk confidently into the future, and have shown them their dreams can become reality. And most of all, you have filled their days with love, kindness, happiness, and hope.
The Burroughs Newsboys Foundation promoted it to go to camp, and I presented it to my mother, and she says, well, find out how much it costs. So it costs $12 a week. So she put me in for 2 weeks. I said, you don't make that kind of money. I said, you know, she said, that's all right, you're going. So she put me there for 2 weeks, and I liked it.
This is me when I went to Agassiz Village and put the foundation, and it changed my whole life to the better. I really enjoyed my years there, and I miss them. Thank God for Agassiz Village.
This was a really nice place. They took good care of you. They fed you well. You know, you learned how to, get along with others. It was really a nice place to go. And I'm fortunate that I was able to spend the 4 summers here.
There's nothing better than, like leading a group of kids in song. And they get a chance to be silly, and they can't do that at home. Home is so serious. Home is so stressful. There's not resources, but here, the kid gets a chance to be a kid. And whether they're 10 years old or 16, and that means a lot, So I was one of those kids, and I like to have an opportunity to do it for others.
My best friends have been from here. When you're 14 years old and I knew no one, coming out of my parents' car and meeting people, and and then immediately being welcomed and getting lifelong friendships. They are, my best friends. I don't know what my life would be without them.
I came here in 1989. That was my first summer. I had just entered the foster care system, and it was home. So I was in foster care from the age of 9 till 18. And Agassiz was the constant. I could always count on coming to Agassiz Village, no matter what was going on back at home during the school year. I just was always looking forward to summers because I knew that, Agassiz was home.
He taught me to dream big and that I could accomplish anything that I wanted to. After that, I had known my whole life I wanted to work for Agassiz full time, and so that was one dream I always wanted to achieve. And so coming back, I knew that I wanted to give the same thing to the campers.
Agassiz Village has provided me a lifetime of lessons, and that it's my duty to pass those along, looking back on the part of my life captioned Agassiz, we are more than just 100 square acres of land that's called a summer camp. We are change.
The people here are just so fun, so much good energy. We're all just together. It feels like a community, and no matter where you're from, what you look like, everybody includes you all the time.
Thank you, Agassiz Village, for bringing all these people into my life.